There's an absolute ton to discuss in these last couple of chapters, so let's dive in immediately. Starting with the beginning, Bonney. I'm incredibly intrigued by Bonney and her entire storyline. Obviously, y'all know if you watch my videos that I am very heavily invested in Kuma and now Bonney by association. But there's a lot that I wonder about with Bonney. Like, for instance, the fact that Oda has refused to reveal the name of her devil fruit or even to explain the usage and properties of her devil fruit up to this point. Like, there's still so many questions that I have about her, and I think that that's intentional. I know a lot of people theorize that what her devil fruit does is warp the timeline for people, which is why when Luffy turns into an old man, he looks like an SBS drawing that Oda previously did of what Luffy will look like as an old man. And since he looks exactly the same, people say, okay, so this is just future Luffy. But in this chapter, she actually changes her body shape. She doesn't change what she looked like as a child or what she looks like as an adult. She changes her genetics or DNA or something, body structure. So that has me wondering if it's less about time and more about actually warping what's going on inside of you, which is why maybe when you're older, you're slower and more sluggish because your genetics have actually changed and she can make herself more buff and change the way she looks. And it was certainly intentional that Oda chose to make note that her powers are temporary on living things, which implies that it's not temporary on non-living things. So then I gotta wonder, what does that look like on non-living objects? And what have we seen in this world already that has been affected by this devil fruit? If we go with the time thing, if her devil fruit is related to time, like a lot of people speculate, and it actually just changes the code of the person so that they are what they would be in this point in time when whether they're old or young or somewhere in between, then that has me wondering, okay, does that mean that she can restore something? Like, for instance, an island that was completely destroyed by a buster call? Could she go to the remains of that island and say, and use her abilities to restore it? Could she go to the Iron Giant and restore what it once was in a different period of time? If it's about changing the genetic code or the makeup of something internally, then that makes me wonder, can she place her hand over a solid object and change its inner structure? Like, if there's an opening in a wall, she could touch the wall and make the wall change its structure and now be a closed space. If so, does that mean that if the One Piece is behind a closed space, she could touch it and open it up and get us into Laugh Tale? Is she the answer to how we're going to find the One Piece? Is it possible that when Roger found the One Piece, when Luffy was a wee lad, Bonney too was a wee lad, and Roger worked with Kuma to bring young, did I call Bonney a lad? We'll just go with it. Bring young Bonney to the place where Laugh Tale is, and Bonney touched that place and changed the structure of it to close it up. And maybe she just doesn't remember this because memories are very significant at this point in the story. That could have easily been removed from her, or she could have been young enough that she didn't really understand what was happening, but she is the key to getting us there. Is it possible that the memories that she's about to touch or that she has touched and we're about to see are hers and not Kuma's, and in fact she's already been utilized in some sort of very destructive way, like, I don't know, changing the continental structure of this entire world, building up a red line or anything like that? Like, can she change entire land masses? Has she already been forced to work with the Gorosei in the past? Is that why they're so severely interested in her now? I have many questions around her fruit, and I think that she is potentially going to be a very significant part to the story as a whole because of the implications of what her abilities could do, and because Oda has withheld the information of her fruit up to this point. I think it's a big one. We do get the reveal that Kuma specifically asked Vegapunk. Man, I'm reading Vagabond right now, and there's a Vegapunk in this story, and that's very hard for my brain. Vegapunk. She asked Vegapunk, or Kuma asked Vegapunk to remove his consciousness, to kill him, to whatever has happened to him, which I think most of us had already guessed. And it seems to me like him climbing the red wall is him going to his death. He's going to make one last sacrifice, to do one last hurrah, maybe to protect her because of the implications of her abilities. I don't know. It does also seem like Kuma as well as Vegapunk are trying to protect her from whatever this memory bubble is that was revealed to us in chapter 1072. Whatever these memories are, whether they're Kuma's or Bonney's that she's being protected from, this is obviously going to give us that further, I hope, it's going to give us that further context that I've been craving about Kuma and his past, what this race that he comes from is, and why he had to play the part of or accept the title of tyrant that was thrust on him, if it is kind of like a Kairos situation from Dressrosa, where he had to pretend to be an evil king in order to protect other people. That it could be a situation like that again. What specifically is it that Vegapunk wanted to see from him that he said would be humiliating? I have many, many questions. One of my many questions is that in this flashback, he has his bear ears, which in other flashbacks we've seen in recent chapters, he doesn't, which has me asking some questions and actually makes me wonder if we've never met the real Kuma. So cloning has been reintroduced or beefed up, I don't know, explored further now in these recent chapters, which we've obviously seen before with the Vinsmoke situation. Now we see that Vegapunk is able to create clones and create them so successfully that they appear to be truly human, and maybe you wouldn't be able to tell them apart from a true human. So I don't know. It does have me wondering, why do his ears seem integral to his genetic makeup in this flashback, but not in previous flashbacks? It makes me wonder if this is her memory and not Kuma's memory. Is it possible that the Kuma that you and I have seen throughout the entirety of this story has never been the true Kuma, that the true Kuma died a long time ago, and what we've been interacting with is a failed clone? Stussy is the first successful clone, not the first clone necessarily. So is he a failed clone and he's a failure just in the same way as Momo's devil fruit is a failure because he's pink, but Kuma's failure is that he has ears where he shouldn't? We know that clones contain memories of their previous owner, so Vegapunk requesting memories from this clone does track. I don't know. It has me wondering if the memory that we're going to see that was removed from Bonney, and it's that her father died a long time ago. Maybe that's why Kuma agreed to be experimented on. Maybe that's why Kuma was the first pacifista. Maybe that's why. I have some questions. And I know that the fandom has been going wild with, who's a clone? Is this person a clone? Is that person a clone? Bonney must be a clone of Big Mom! To the point that it's all become a meme, at least in my eyes. Like, everybody's a clone. Everybody's a clone of everybody. And in fact, the whole story, we've never interacted with a single real human. Which, don't get me wrong, I love a good meme. So I'm not mad about it. But this is my legitimate prediction that this has been introduced so that at least one other person is going to be revealed as a clone soonish. It might be Kuma. Whatever it is, whatever memory I hope we're about to experience, we're about to look at and see whatever is going on. I just really, really love the way Oda revealed all this, his paneling going back and forth of showing Kuma climbing up the wall and the people ordering fire on Kuma and Bonney going back and forth, learning what's going on and seeing the memory bubble, and Vegapunk saying, you know what this is pain. This could potentially kill you. And she responds with, yes, I do know what this is. I do know my father's powers. And she touches it. Regardless of what this is, the way Oda paneled this of them going back and forth was incredible and added so much emotion to it. And obviously Bonney knows more than we do about Kuma's abilities, which is why she chose to touch the memories. And she said, yes, I understand my father's powers before she chose to touch it. And then we have the fact that Bonney and Vegapunk disappeared. Did they go into the memories? Does that mean that Zoro went into the memories, went into the bubble back in Thriller Bark? I have many questions. Bonney certainly thinks that what she just touched was her father's memory, which, yeah, I hope that's what it is because I desperately want to learn more about Kuma. But if it is Bonnie's memories, then hopefully we'll still be learning a whole lot more about Kuma through her memories too. We did get the fight with the CP0 agents and with some of our Straw Hats, which was super fun. I really, really loved this scene. It was great to see them in action again. Finally, we get to see Brook again in this arc. Even when we saw Zoro earlier, Brook was nowhere to be seen, not even in a far-off panel, not even when we had the overhead shot and we could see Zoro sleeping on the ship. Brook was nowhere, so I'm glad he's back. It's always great to see them in action. I really love Kaku's fighting style. It's ridiculous and so much fun. And seeing Zoro and him against each other, it was just great. And then ending the chapter on the reveal of Stussy being the double agent, which I think a lot of us expected to be what was going on here. But she's also maybe like a succubus or a vampire or something. Is so fun. I mean, she puts people to sleep rather than killing them, which, okay, fine, it's One Piece. But her fighting style in 1073, her being so witty and playful and essentially playing with her prey, talking to them and teasing them, and then having this incredible fighting style. Well, not fighting style, but she's just so strong, pulling out the sea prism stone lipstick and getting him in the neck with it and then biting him. Did she get him in the neck with it? Yeah, it was the neck. And then biting him and, oh, just so good. Lucci's been such a disappointment in this arc, so seeing her just like take him down in such a cool way, it was just really nice. And the panels of her attacking him, that one right there where right when you get the close in on her teeth and then she's got her arm wrapped around him with the sea prism lipstick and she's biting into him and the bird guy is out here like, you gotta be kidding me right now. It's incredible. It's amazing. She is a character that I've just not really had eyes on, other than, you know, she's been fun in the last few chapters and definitely had eyes on her as the, you know, the person that they were calling on, the person that Vegapunk was like, oh, but if we call on this person, then they'll be, I don't remember the language, chased out of home and family. But in this, like, I had eyes on her for that context, but I didn't have eyes on her as a character that I had any sort of emotion towards, but she just elevated herself in this chapter, and I'm so pleased. The entire dialogue about her saying that she can't give orders because Lucci gave orders to the pacifistas and now she can't overrule them, all that didn't make any sense to me. Stussy and Lucci are both CP0 agents, and Lucci is down. He's passed out. So in previous chapters, when Axe Guy, Sentamamu was knocked out, his power, his order was no longer in effect, right? And that's why Lucci tried to take him out, because he was a higher authority for the pacifistas, so Lucci took him out and then he could give the orders again, right? So Lucci being taken out should mean that his orders are no longer in effect. Unless the rule is, the unspoken rule is, if two people are on the same playing field of order, and Lucci would be a little bit higher than her because he's the leader of CP0, but again, him being higher than her doesn't matter because he's passed out. So I guess if the rule is you're on the same playing field, you're both CP0 agents, so only one order counts. Like when one person gives an order, then the rest aren't allowed to give orders anymore, but like that's a dumb unspoken rule. So I don't know, it just doesn't, he's passed out. So according to the Sentamamu rule that was established, that should mean that she can give an order. It doesn't really actually matter because Vegapunk's clones are, or not clones, Vegapunk's other pieces of himself, betas, are right there. So it doesn't matter because literally all it took was one of them to step outside and be like, hey, overpowering your order, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And Stussy not being able to give the order did add some fun action and did make the scene more engaging and exciting and fun. So it's not a big deal. It just doesn't make sense to me. But regardless, Stussy betraying the betrayers, right? Like these CP0 agents, when they were CP9, they betrayed me. They betrayed my Straw Hats. And it was wonderful. And now seeing them get betrayed was also wonderful. So seeing that, and then getting the scenes with Zoro fighting the pacifista or the Seraphim, Mihawk, and him kind of making that jab about like, you're more human than the real guy. I love it. It's so fun. Edison is able to pop out at the last moment and save them from the Seraphim Jinbei's laser beam that he's about to shoot out. And, you know, it was fun. It was a really fun scene. I had a great time with it. And even though the hierarchy system, the way that all played out, I don't get the logic there. It was a great time, so. We have this flashback, which was fodder for a whole bunch of Weevil is actually a Whitebeard clone, which became fodder for all the Rocks pirates are clones, which became fodder for Bonney is a Big Mom clone. So many clones all of a sudden are in the story. I mean, it's fine. I'm fine with that theory. I'm fine with the theory that all the Rocks pirates are trying to be cloned. I mean, we've already got all the warlords, the previous warlords of the sea becoming Seraphim, so I don't feel like we also need clones of the Rocks pirates. I certainly don't need Bonney. Okay, so at first, so if you don't know, I do a live stream with my patrons where we do a live reading and they come on, some of them come on and we all chat in person and hang out. When some of my patrons first dropped the theory of like, oh, Bonney is Big Mom clone, at first I was like, okay, let's talk that out. Like, it sounded really interesting to me. I was into it. Upon further reflection, I just feel like there's enough substance to Bonney as a character without needing to do that. There are a lot of hints that Big Mom is not dead. So saying Big Mom's not dead because her memories are in this other being that can continue to be Big Mom, yeah, totally, but I don't need it to be Bonney specifically. And her having pink hair and having, like, looking a little bit like another woman in the series. Like, come on, all the women look the same in the series, come on. I don't know, I'm down with the idea of cloning a bunch of Rocks pirates if that's the direction that we go in. I don't need Bonney to be Big Mom, personally. If she is, that could be the memories that she's about to access, the fact that she's not actually human, right? And Oda did, at least for me, when we got the chapter beginning with the voice, or rather of the letter of Vegapunk saying, this person, she's basically a real life person. I totally made a successful clone where she's a real person. My first thought was, Bonnie's a clone? What? Because we got that letter and then we went straight to Bonney, right? But then the implication now is that Stussy was who that letter was about. It could certainly not be about Stussy. It could be about Bonney. It could go in that direction and I wouldn't be mad about it. But they are specifically saying that Weevil is Whitebeard's son. Like, the real Stussy, the old Stussy, the original Stussy. What's her name? Miss Buckingham Stussy, is calling him Whitebeard's son. So if she sees the clone Stussy, is she gonna say, and there's my daughter? Is that what we're doing, right? Is that what we're doing? I don't know, truthfully, I don't have a lot of investment in this particular side of things. I don't care that much. I don't know, I have many questions, but obviously this ended on the reveal of the Gorosei name. So let's talk about that now. So the reveal of the Gorosei name, Saturn, was obviously intentional. And I know that everybody right now is talking about planets, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, planets, and ancient weapons, and all of that. I don't really want to just regurgitate what other people have been saying. I think that Oda obviously did this on purpose. He withheld this name reveal on purpose, and now we're all supposed to say, planets! This is all planets, really. Like, we're supposed to be doing this right now, so awesome. And of course, the fact that one of the Gorosei is in action now, is on the move now, is very interesting. It's really just feeling like we are edging closer and closer and closer to the true climax of the story, and I'm really excited to see what Oda's gonna do with it all. But the thing that I'm probably the most interested in right now is Imu, because the 4 elders bow before this figure and answer directly to this figure. And this figure is the one that sits on the throne that no one sits on. So I have so many questions around Imu. If we're going in a planetary direction, and we know that the 5 elders previously tried to erase Luffy's devil fruit, or tried to eliminate it, tried to erase it from records, all that jazz. If they're planets, if they're planetary, they're not actual planets, but if they're planetary names and he is the sun god, so the planets revolve around the sun, there's a reason that they were, I mean, obviously we already knew that there was a reason they were trying to hide this fruit from the world and trying to eliminate the usage of this fruit. But now I think that we're one step closer to that. We also have the fact that Luffy is the sun, and we have Blackbeard, who's already been positioned as the antithesis of Luffy, or probably one of the final matchups for Luffy. There's so many parallels between and connections between these characters. He is also darkness, and Luffy is the bringer of freedom and light. So all this has me asking questions about the Lunarians as well, with their connection to the Seraphim, but also because they are gods of some sort. They were originally living on the Grand Line. Okay, here's my off the wall theory. Here's where I'm going with all this. And I don't have any proof, so don't ask me for it. And I don't have any good, just let me talk for a second and then laugh at me afterwards. What if Imu is a Lunarian who has ripped his or her own wings off, or hides them under a cloak, or whatever reason we want to give for the silhouette not showing wings? And what has happened was the Lunarians, who were indigenous to Mary Joa and to the Red Line, were kicked off by one of their own through betrayal, through one of them trying to rise up above the other gods and be the god of gods, the king of gods, the Cronos of the gods, possibly. One who betrayed his own family and took over leadership. And according to Greek mythology, Cronos' rule was known as the Golden Age for mortals. So I don't know, maybe Imu is the Cronos of the Lunarians, the one who betrayed them all and tried to rise above and be the ruler, and then he instated fake gods like the celestial dragons, humans who try to elevate themselves to god status despite having no actual godship or godhood, but they try to use force and influence and might to control to have this synthetic god status. Perhaps Imu is a Lunarian who betrayed his brethren, elevated himself to be the one god that's ruling, and is using humans as his puppets by instating them into godship titles where they feel like they're in control, where they feel like they're in power, but really he's the one pulling the strings, which we already see is what's happening. He is the one, while the humans feel like they're in control of the world, he is the one that they're bowing down to behind the scenes. So I don't know, I feel like this is the golden age for humans because Cronos is the one ruling for now. But sun god Nika is on his way to change that. And maybe whenever he takes down the celestial dragons and he abolishes the current world order, he's able to restore the home of the people who were indigenous to Mary Joa, the Lunarians. I don't know. It's a pretty half-baked theory, but it's what went bouncing around in my head after I finished reading these chapters and started thinking more about the implications of it all. What do you think? Anyway, if you want weekly chapter discussions from me or just to hang out and talk about One Piece and Vagabond, which I'm currently reading, and anything else, consider joining my Patreon. I'm there a lot. On the Discord for my Patreon. I'm there a lot. Or you can just hang out with me whenever I post these videos. That's cool too. I post videos on this channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On the second channel, I post on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll see you again soon. Bye.